Caddying is a great way to learn golf under enjoyable conditions. Caddying is a wonderful first job that teaches you discipline, character, and hard work. It has flexible hours in beautiful outdoor work conditions. Caddies work for leaders in their communities in a sports environment in which they can be an important part of a team. The general function of a caddy is to provide service for the golfer, but a good caddy with a solid reputation may also have a positive influence on the golfer's game. But to become a good caddy, it takes experience and proper training. The Francis Ouimet Scholarship Fund was founded in 1949, and its purpose is to provide college scholarships to young people who have been caddies or worked in other areas of golf. We are recognized as an authority on caddying in Massachusetts. The Ouimet Fund awards approximately $500,000 in scholarships each year. We've given 3,200 young caddies and other students almost $8 million in scholarships over the years. The scholarship is a wonderful extra potential benefit for caddies. The Ouimet Fund is proud to present this instructional video in conjunction with the Western Golf Association. A golfer will expect the caddy to be cheerful, attentive, and be able to perform tasks such as estimating yardage, tending the flagstick, raking bunkers, locating lost balls, replacing divots, and sometimes repairing ball marks. In this video, we'll see a variety of caddies and players in action as we go over what you need to know before you reach the tee. We'll cover the caddy's duties on the tee, in the fairway, around the green, in bunkers and hazards, and the different tasks involved in forecaddying and cart chasing. We'll also explain what procedure to follow after the round of play or loop is finished. Don't worry if you miss a point. Just note the numbers running in the corner of the screen so you can go back and review later. These reference numbers are also shown in the corresponding sections of the brochure that accompanies this videotape. All of these duties and more require training and preparation. It's important to know the terms used on and around the golf course. The men's tee, the ladies' tee, and the championship tee. The fairway, rough, out of bounds, water, bunker, and green. The green area consists of the fringe, the putting surface, the cup, and the flagstick. There are some things a caddy absolutely must know before he or she actually reaches the first tee. This preparation will pay off later, and being on time, well-rested, and well-nourished is very important as well. A good caddy will know what type of clothing is appropriate for his or her club. Some clubs may even supply uniforms, such as t-shirts and hats. All clubs will want you to be well-groomed and neatly dressed in clothing that is comfortable but appropriate for the weather, with shirt tails tucked in. Comfortable shoes are also important, but no golf spikes. Athletic shoes are probably the best bet, but be sure they can withstand damp conditions. Protection from overexposure to the sun is also important. Wearing sunscreen and a hat may be advisable on hot or sunny days. Most clubs will expect you to carry a towel, which some clubs supply. They may also supply you with a ball repair tool, yardage cart, scorecard, and pencil.
Good morning, fellas. Come on in, sign up. I'll get you out as soon as I can.
Each club has its own sign-in or check-in policy. At most clubs, it's the first thing you should do when you arrive. This will enable you to get a caddying assignment as soon as possible. Caddies should make use of the designated caddy area as a place to wait for their assignments.
Chris, Danny, and Luke, I have your caddy assignment today.
When you get your assignment, you may be asked to take an assignment or evaluation card, which will be filled out by your player at the end of your round. You will be asked to pick up your player's bag. This generally involves getting it from the bag room attendant.
When you come to the bag rack, the first thing you want to do to identify your player's clubs is to look at one of the tags he's going to have on his bag. The next thing you're going to want to do is count how many clubs. Generally, they're going to have about 14 clubs. Next is you're going to want to rack them and put them in order. The woods and the putter, again, go on top, closest to the strap. The 1 through the 6 iron go right here in the middle. the 7-iron through the sand wedge go on the bottom. And it's important to put them in order, at least on the first tee, because, like I said, first impression is very important, because your player is going to say, hey, this caddy's really on the ball if the clubs are in order. Next thing you want to do is you want to pick up the bag and see how it hangs. You can adjust the bag strap if it hangs too low or too high. So you can adjust the bag strap. And this is the way you're going to want to carry it. You want to put your hand on the woods here so the clubs don't rattle when you're walking down the fairway. If you get tired towards the end of the round, which a lot of the young caddies do with their first few times out, you can always swing the bag around like this. The next thing you want to do is you want to wet your towel. And you just want to wet really about a quarter of it. And you want to do that right before your loop. And just hang it back on the bag like this. So then when you get a club, you can wipe it and put it back in the bag at the same time. When your player arrives, then you'll be ready to go, proceed to the first tee.
According to the rules of golf, as a caddy, you are part of your golfer. This means that you can incur a penalty against your player, so pay careful attention to their instructions. You are responsible for the golf bag and everything in it. Most golf bags have 3 compartments to hold the clubs: the woods, the long irons, and short irons. The woods themselves may be made of a material other than wood, but they are always referred to as woods and are used for shots that require long distance. It's the caddy's responsibility to take an inventory of the clubs as soon as he or she picks them up. This includes knowing and remembering the brands of the woods, the irons, and the putter. 14 clubs is the maximum a player may have in a club event or tournament. If, after counting the clubs, you find that your golfer's bag contains more or less than 14 clubs, notify your golfer.
Mr. Fagan, I noticed you had 50 clubs in your bag.
Oh, that's right. I was demoing a putter. I better return this one to the pro shop. Thank you.
Check the bag to see if there is any other equipment you may need to be aware of, such as an umbrella or a towel. Make sure the zippered pockets are closed. Your player may want to hit some practice shots prior to teeing off, either on the practice green or on the practice range. If so, you will need to attend to their needs and keep their bag on hand at either location. You can see that preparation is one of the keys to being a good caddy. Being prepared will make your job easier and make the game more enjoyable for your golfer as well. Let's review what you should do before reaching the tee. Count and arrange the clubs. Adjust the strap so the bag hangs comfortably. Wet about 1/3 of the towel end. Know how to pronounce your player's name and make a good first impression. Now, off to the first tee. This is where you and the other caddies will meet the golfers. It's also your chance to make a good first impression. Always be courteous and stay alert. It's also very important to be still and quiet when players are hitting their shots.
When you get up to the first tee, you want to come right up to the marker. Whichever marker your member is playing, you want to put the bags right up by it. So why don't we come up and do this? Come right up here, 1, 2, 3, 4. You never ever want to be ahead of the marker. You always want to be right next to it, 1, 2, 3, 4, since the hole's going this way. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to greet our players. And say, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm happy to caddy for you today.
Hi, my name's Rich. Nice to caddy for you today.
My name is Joe.
Hi,
Nice to
my
meet
name
you.
is Abba.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Most of your players on the first tee, they will hit their drivers. They will hit their drivers on every hole except for a par 3 or short and narrow par 4 and 5. After you know what club they're going to hit on their first hole, after they're finished putting, you'll be able to have their driver out ready to go on every hole. When they're finished putting, they should never have to ask for their driver. You should always have it out ready to go. I'm going to hit my driver here, Eric.
Make sure you know the brand and number of your player's ball, and pay attention to the other golfers' brands and numbers in case you have to help track their shots as well.
And what type of ball are you playing today, sir?
I've got a Top Flight Tour number 3.
Okay.
You want to face your player on the tee. If there is a mix of right and left-handed players in your group, stand on the side facing the majority of players, which will generally be the right-handers. Don't change sides on the tee between tee shots. Choose one side and stay there.
On the first tee, your player might hit what we call a mulligan. If he doesn't hit a real good first tee ball, he's going to play a second one. And you're going to be expected to pick up the one that he doesn't want to play. If you're not sure, just ask him. On a sunny day like today, you might have trouble seeing the ball. So the best thing to do is to shade your eyes into the sun, or you can avoid that by wearing a hat. If one of your players hits it to the right or to the left-hand side of the fairway or the rough, you might want to mark it up with a tree, because sometimes the balls are tricky to spot. So I'm going to go ahead and tee one up here. Okay, guys, I'm going to play another one because that will block me out for my second shot. So this is my mulligan. Now that one's headed right at the bunker. After your player hits his tee shot, don't ever ask for the club. He'll give you his club when he's good and ready. He might wait until he gets up to his next shot, but don't ever ask for his driver, or don't ever grab it. He'll give it to you when he's ready. Okay, let's go.
A mulligan is an extra attempt at a shot. Though it is not within the rules of golf, many players will hit mulligans, but usually only off the first tee. Another occasion when a player might take an extra attempt at a shot is when their ball goes out of bounds or into a hazard or other area where the ball may be difficult to find. This is referred to as playing a provisional. Keeping track of your golfer's ball is your responsibility. If a ball enters a wooded area, listen closely to hear if it hits a tree. Be especially careful to mark balls that are hit into trees or tall grass. Wet conditions may sometimes cause a ball to become embedded in sand, mud, or even soft turf, so pay close attention to keep balls from becoming lost in soggy areas.
We're currently on a par 3 right here. It's just like being in the fairway. You have to find a yardage marker, step it off to where we're teeing it off from. As you can see, we're at the 133-yard marker, so why don't you step it off to where we're teeing off from. Roman, how far are we?
It's 144 yards.
144? Okay. Now it's important to remember when the last player is getting ready to hit, you want to have your bags on your shoulders ready to go. Not only on par 3s, but on every hole, because otherwise you might fall behind. So who's ever hitting last, you already want to have your bags on your shoulder ready to go. Now remember, it's just like we're on a fairway. If I take a divot here, you're expected to replace it. You also want to keep as quiet as possible. Make sure that the clubs are not rattling.
Some courses provide special sand to fill divots, and some courses in arid areas provide sand in the golf cart. Check with your caddy master for special divot repair procedures. Let's review what you should do on the tee. Remember to greet your player and know where to stand. Know the brand and number of your player's ball, and take note of which club your player uses off the tee. If the ball leaves the fairway, mark it with a tree or bush. Play in the fairway is where you will see your earlier preparation start to pay off. Being alert and well-organized is crucial to being a good caddy. Walk fast enough to keep up with or slightly ahead of your player. You don't want to fall behind and make your player wait for you. Nor do you want to race ahead where you might get in the way of another player who is hitting. It's a good idea to acquaint yourself with some of the terms used when referring to golf shots or characteristics of the course. This is also where you may be called upon to determine yardage or replace a divot. A golfer who knows the correct yardage to the green can select the proper club for that distance and hit a more accurate shot. Yardage markers are found on most golf courses and give the distance from a point in the fairway to the middle of the green. Many courses have red, white, and blue markers, like these, that indicate 100, 150, and 200 yards to the center of the green. Some courses also have yardages marked on each sprinkler head in the fairway. A caddy can help his player measure these yardages by pacing distances from these markers with 1-yard paces. Safety is another concern. The word "for" is used as a warning that you or others may be in danger of being hit by a golfer's ball. When you hear someone shout 4, duck and cover your head for protection. Stay alert and be aware of what is going on behind you in the fairway. A caddy should be prepared to replace divots after every shot. When replacing a divot, stamp on it twice to ensure that the area is flat and the divot is firmly in place. Shredded divots need to be collected and replaced as well. This also goes for divots in the rough. Remember that replacing divots is important for grass growth on the course.
Okay, when we're walking up to the ball, do not go directly to your player's ball off the tee unless he is the first one to hit. The ball furthest away from the green will be the player that hits first. It might not be your player, so do not go directly to your player's ball. Before you get up to my ball, you want to find a distance marker. Now the white one here is 150 yards. You always step it off in a straight line. Okay, so you line it up from the 150 marker, step it off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 minus 150 is what? 144. So you get the yardage, and then you go directly to the player's ball. You set the bag down right up by the ball, come up a little further. There you go. When your player gets to the ball, you say, "Sir, you have 144 yards." Okay, after your player selects his club, then you want to take a few steps back. Okay? Now remember, if I take a divot here, you're going to have to hustle up. You're going to put the bag down, hustle up, grab the divot, come back, replace it, and then catch up with your player. Okay, Eric, now when I give you the club here, you can clean it while you're walking. Don't just stand there and put the bag down and clean it. You can clean it while you're walking. That way you won't fall behind your player. When you're walking down the fairway, to make sure that the clubs don't rattle, you put your hand over the clubs. This will prevent the clubs from rattling and disturbing your player. Here we have an instance of a ball being in the rough. Now, you cannot tell if this is your player's ball. Don't ever touch the ball. Let the player come up and identify it for himself.
As you can see, in golf, safety and etiquette go hand in hand. A good caddy should be very responsive to his or her golfer, as well as the other caddies in order to keep up the pace of play. Think of your fellow caddies as teammates and learn from each other. Let's review your responsibilities in the fairway. Remember to hustle. Keep up with or even slightly ahead of your player. Locate the yardage marker and step it off to the ball. Be prepared to replace divots. Clean your player's clubs while you walk and have the putter ready to go when your player's shot hits the green. Etiquette and the use of correct golf terminology is important on and around the green. The green is a very expensive and delicate surface and should be treated carefully. Step very easily to keep wear to a minimum. No running. Many golf games are won and lost on the green, so it's important that the caddy pay close attention in order to know if it's his or her turn to tend the flagstick. The caddy of the first golfer whose shot reaches the green tends the flagstick, so keep track of your group's approach shots and communicate with the other caddies to confirm who'll be handling the flagstick. Your player should already have his or her putter, so place their bag on the fringe of the green, closest to the path to the next tee. This will save time later. Always be prepared to wash your golfer's ball, especially under wet conditions, so keep your towel with you on the green. The caddy should hand the clean ball back to the player promptly. Never roll the ball back, as this can result in a penalty for testing the putting surface. The same penalty can result from tossing the ball if the catch is missed. Now might be a good time to check if the green has sustained any damage from ball marks. If so, they'll need repairing. Using a ball mark repair tool or golf tee, penetrate and push the turf surrounding the mark to the center. Then, step firmly on the mark to flatten the surface. a ball should be able to roll smoothly over a well-repaired ball mark. Some caddy masters prefer that caddies let only players and/or experienced caddies repair ball marks, so learn your club's policy. As the players putt, remain quiet and at the same time alert. Be careful to stay clear of the putter's sight line, both front and back.
Okay, Danny and Chris, the first thing you want to do when you come up to the flagstick is you want to make sure that it's loose. Because otherwise, if you yank on it, the whole cup might come out. So you always want to make sure that the flagstick is loose when you first get up here. Next, you want to grab the flag and the stick together so the flag does not blow in the wind, because that might disturb the golfer. Next, you want to have your feet pointed at the golfer you are tending the flagstick for. Next, you want to make sure that your shadow does not fall over the cup. As soon as the golfer hits the putt, take it out, step away, make sure you do not step in anyone's line as you're stepping away from the cup. When you're taking the flagstick out and when you're putting it back in, make sure you do not hit the lip of the cup. The lip of the cup is very fragile, so you always want to take extra care in putting the flagstick in and when you take it out. You never want to hit the edge of the cup because it might damage it. You guys never ever want to come close to stepping on the edge of the cup because, as I said again, it's very fragile. So you always want to make sure you never step on the edge or even anywhere close to it. You always want to step around it. Danny and Chris, once everybody can see the hole and they no longer need the flagstick tended, you come here to the edge of the green and you hold the flag and the stick together. Once again, if the flag blows in the wind, that may disturb the golfer. So you come to the edge of the green and make sure that you're holding the flag along with the stick. Also, you want to be careful of who's ever putting. You don't want to be in their sight line. So you might have to move around a few times on the green because you never want to be standing behind a golfer when they are putting, and you never want to be standing behind the cup so they can see you. When the last person is putted out, you want to walk back to the cup and put the flagstick in, but do not run and catch up with your player for the next hole.
Generally, if the player's putting from a good distance, they will need to have the flagstick tended for a better view of the hole. The shorter the distance, the less likely it is that they'll need you to tend the flagstick. Always be careful not to step on the lines of putt or imaginary lines between each ball and the hole. Stepping on these lines can interfere with a smooth, straight roll of the putt. When approaching the flagstick, the caddy should first draw an imaginary line from the hole to each of the player's ball or ball markers. Then, the caddy should be careful to walk well around these lines of putt.
Danny and Chris, another important job of yours when you're coming up to tend the flagstick is to make sure that your shadow does not cross over the cup. Okay, also when you're tending the flagstick, try to have your shadow not even behind the cup like this, okay? You can always go over to the other side to tend the flagstick, but you never want your shadow to cross over the cup, and also you don't want your shadow to fall behind the cup because it will throw off the player's depth perception.
The caddy may have a choice of paths to the flagstick. Before pulling the flagstick, check to see if the golfer furthest from the hole would like to have the flagstick tended.
Would you like me to tend the flagstick, sir?
If you would, Luke, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
If so, always stand away from the break of the green to avoid interfering with the roll of the shot. Again, be careful not to step in the lines of putt as you walk away from the cup.
Here's an occasion where I'm not exactly on the green, but I'm on the fringe, and a player will have the option to either leave the flagstick in or have it taken out. And Danny, I'm going to have you take it out, please.
A player who isn't on the putting surface has the option of leaving the flagstick in, having it tended, or having it taken out.
Okay, Chris, can you tend the flagstick for me, please?
Occasionally, a ball on the green will be further from the hole than a ball just off the green. In this case, the caddy may need to tend the flagstick for the player on the green and then leave the flagstick in and step away for the player off the green.
Okay, after everyone has putted out, you want to have their drivers out ready to go.
Let's review what you need to know on the green. Remember that the caddy of the first player to reach the green tends the flagstick. Put the bag down on the path to the next tee and offer to clean your player's ball. Watch the lines of putt. Be careful not to damage the edge of the cup when handling the flagstick, and make sure your shadow doesn't fall over the cup. Occasionally, your golfer's ball may land in a bunker. There are some specific rules you need to follow and some special situations to look out for. Never enter a bunker until your golfer has hit out. Your stepping on the sand could be construed as testing the surface and might cost your golfer a penalty. After your golfer has hit out, exchange clubs with your player and enter the bunker at the lowest point or lip. This will prevent damage to the fragile top lip of the bunker. Rake up any footprints or club marks and rake your path back out of the bunker. Always retrace the path when exiting. Never create a new one. When you're finished, place the rake just inside or just outside the lip of the bunker. Consult your caddy master to determine what the policy is at your course. If your player fails to reach the putting surface from a greenside bunker, stay with them for the next shot and rake the bunker later, or ask another caddy to rake it for you.
Hey, Chris, you rake the bunker for me?
Sure.
Either way, make sure the bunker is raked before you proceed to the next tee. At some point, you may discover that you are out of position and possibly in a place that could distract a player. You need to either move away quietly or remain perfectly still. Here, the caddy is raking the bunker and he discovers that he is in position where he might disturb the golfer putting. The caddy could decide to remain perfectly still, but he decides to walk away and finish raking later. Extra caution and care should be taken in and around bunkers to ensure that you leave it in as good or better condition than when your golfer entered it. Water is another type of hazard. If your golfer's ball lands in the water, he will need to drop another ball to finish the hole. Around hazards, watch carefully to see where your player's ball entered. Let's take a moment to review what to do when your golfer's ball goes in a bunker. Make sure to retrace your player's footprints. Be careful not to disturb any other player in the group. You may have to wait to finish raking. Watch carefully to see where your player's ball entered. You may be called upon to forecaddy, that is, caddying ahead of the golfers. Check with your caddy master for your club's policy on forecaddying.
Okay, Paul and I, we're going to go back here to hit our tee balls. You guys are going to go ahead and forecaddy. Since the hole goes this way, it's kind of a shortcut for you guys. Okay, rather than walking back to the tee, you can go ahead and forecaddy. You have to be aware of where we hit our balls, though. You have to be alert so you don't get hit.
Forecaddying should be done by experienced caddies who are already familiar with a particular course. Often, this involves a shortcut from the green to the landing area for tee shots on the next hole. A forecaddy relies on special signals to communicate with the golfers who may be hundreds of yards away. A forecaddy has to be able to handle the responsibility of up to 4 golfers, their balls, and all green and bunker responsibilities.
As you can see here, the caddies are up there forecaddying. If I hit a shot to the right or to the left, they will be able to mark the ball. That is one of the reasons why they're up there forecaddying. If I hit my tee shot and do not make it up to them, after everyone has hit, the caddy will have to come back and give me a club so I can hit my second shot.
Let's review forecaddying. It's important for a forecaddy to hustle, spot, signal safe or out of bounds, and be alert. Also, be prepared to bring the bag back if your player's ball doesn't reach your location.
Tim, as a cart chaser, you want to perform the same duties as if you're carrying a bag. You will be expected to give the yardages, clean the clubs, all your duties on the green. The most important thing when you're cart chasing is you have to keep up. You also want a Forecaddy on every single hole except for a par 3, so you can spot errant tee shots. The reasoning behind this is if one of the players hits a shot that goes out of bounds, and he might not be able to see it, you're going to be up there Forecaddying, and you will be able to tell him by signaling so if he goes out of bounds. If the player is safe, if he doesn't go out of bounds, you want to signal it like this. If you're not sure if you went out of bounds or not, it's best to signal out of bounds so your player can hit a provisional. So the next thing you want to do is when your group is getting ready to tee off on the first hole, you want to go ahead and run down the fairway and either stand on the right or left-hand side just off the fairway so you can see where all the tee shots are going to land.
Cart chasing is similar to caddying, except that the golfers use a cart and their bags and clubs stay in the cart. Even though your players are using a cart, the same procedures apply for greeting your players before the round. On the first tee, after giving the golfers their clubs, hustle down the fairway and position yourself in a safe place to see where the shot lands. On succeeding holes, you will generally go directly to the landing area from the previous green. This ball just barely stayed in bounds, but the players couldn't have known it without the caddy's safe signal. There are two ways to cart chase. You can stay with the carts to help the players with their clubs and divots, or proceed ahead of your group to the landing area to track their shots. Small towels can be used for marking balls that may be difficult to find in the rough. Let's review cart chasing. You have the same duties as a Forecaddy, but you're working for up to 4 golfers. You can Forecaddy every hole except par 3s, and it may be a good idea to bring extra small towels to mark balls in the rough. Don't forget to check with your caddy master about your club's cart chasing policy. The caddy's job doesn't end right after the loop. There are still some important things that need to be addressed. At the completion of the round, give your ticket to your player for him or her to sign. Never look over your player's shoulder while they're grading your performance, and always remember to thank your player. Inventory all clubs in your player's bag, and make sure they're all cleaned before returning them to the bag room. Then, return your signed ticket to the caddy master.
Thanks for the loop very much.
Now, let's review procedures after the loop. Don't watch your player grade your performance. Always thank your player or group and ask where to leave their bag. Clean and count the clubs before you leave them. A caddy gains ability through on-the-job experience and proper training, including learning from other caddies. As you gain experience, you can be of more help to your player on the course. And by becoming familiar with your course, you will gain the ability to read greens, suggest club selection, and discuss the win factor. Never give advice unless it is requested, and only provide advice to your player. There are often special policies that vary from club to club, and you should discuss these with your caddy master. But the main qualifications for a caddy are to be safe, alert, attentive, and respectful. More information about caddy training can be obtained through the Francis Ouimet Scholarship Fund. Caddying is the ideal way to learn the game of golf while making good contacts with people in your community. It can be a great experience and may even provide a college scholarship. To qualify for the Francis Ouimet Scholarship, an applicant must have 3 years' service to golf, be recommended by club officials and guidance counselors, require financial assistance, possess outstanding personal character, and apply in September of senior year in high school. Other jobs at the golf course are also eligible for Ouimet scholarships.
I cut the greens.
I work in the bag room.
I take care of the carts.
I work in the pro shop.
I take care of the range.
You're up next.
Great, thank you.
I'm the starter.
The Ouimet Scholarship is just one of the many benefits of working at a golf course. Caddy programs are not only an investment in future golf, but also an investment in young men and women's futures.